Okay, it's been about 22 hours. Come out to check on it. Main things to look for is make sure that the pump is running, which it is, obviously. And as you can see, it's starting to take on this tea-like color, and a foam is starting to gather on the surface from the sugars and the activity. And I went ahead and I put in a little bit more of the molasses because when I smelled this, it doesn't have much of a smell to it at all, which is good. You don't want it to smell rotten. And if it does, if it just smells awful, rotten, most like I would just pour it out and start over if it were me. You want it, ideally, what tea should smell like is like soil. It should essentially have like a soil type smell to it. And with the addition of sort of a yeast, a sweetness to it, obviously from the molasses and the activity. So that's just mainly what you want to check for after about 24 hours to make sure it's doing okay. Otherwise, pour it out and start over. The worst thing to do is to brew a bad batch of tea with the wrong type of bacteria growing in it, because as soon as it goes aerobic or anaerobic, it could actually be harmful for your garden. So just something to keep in mind. What we're brewing is aerobic. We're dealing with aerobic bacteria, and that's the reason you have to use a tea relatively quickly after you're done, because that aerobic bacteria will die. It will immediately start dying within half an hour after stopping the process. And so that's kind of the reason for using it right away, this type of tea, because you're brewing a lot of bacteria, or whatever you would call it, microbes. You're brewing a lot of that stuff up when you're brewing a tea like this. You just want to make sure it's good stuff. I like to take the bag and kind of check it. It's holding together pretty good. Kind of dip it. You can kind of see how tea-like it looks. It looks a lot like tea at this point. And, actually, at this point, you could actually use it. And as long as there's enough in there and enough food for it to keep on going, you can let it go further. I'm going to let it go for another half a day or more, or possibly another 12 hours or so, just kind of depending on when I get home from work. That's when I'll stop and pour it out. And if I'm going to pour it out in part of my garden, and I'll probably have plenty left over. And one thing you can do with this leftover stuff that's really good to do is to pour it on your compost. It'll really give it a boost. You know, if you have a pile of compost going somewhere, this is great to add to it as a booster. So there's always somewhere to put this stuff. You never really need to throw it away. You can pour it out on your lawn or spray it. So we'll let this go another 12 hours or so, and possibly a little longer, just depending when I get home. And then I'll pour it out, and we'll see what it looks like then. Okay, it's been about 32 hours. At about the 24-hour period, I pulled the bag out and let it continue to brew, mixed everything up a little bit. And I probably would have used this earlier, but we had thunderstorms roll through, and I just didn't feel like going out there in that and pouring the stuff, so I just let it continue to go until this is early morning. And I'm going to go ahead and shut the pump off, and I took a good whiff of it, and it smells all right. It doesn't smell like ammonia or anything, so it looks like it's pretty good and it's ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead and shut the pump off, stir it up, and get ready to pour it. What I have here is is a mixture of 10% bleach and water. So I'm going to take these out, cut this tire wrap, and just kind of keep it running and drop them down in here. And let that kind of just clean up. Get the tire out. I'm going through the handle. All right. Alright, and that's it. Now we've had a lot of rain here lately, so the ground is saturated. What I was planning on doing was pouring this over one of the tomatoes in my boxes, but I have a feeling that if I pour this anywhere in the box, it's just going to spread everywhere, so it's not really going to be a good experiment to do that. So I'm just going to pour some in one of my boxes and see if those, and just monitor those plants over the next week or two. And then we have some plants out front that the wife planted in a little bit, and those things haven't done anything since we've planted them. They just kind of just sit there. So I'm going to pour a lot of this around those plants and see what happens. And then whatever's left, I'm just going to pour on the compost pile. That ought to do it. This was pretty much grass, a lot of grass and leaves and whatnot, and it's been about 3 weeks or so, 3 or 4 weeks I guess, and it's I've been turning it weekly at least, and it's been decomposing pretty well, as you can see. And this is a good little inoculant to kind of get it going again. It started to cool down, and I'm going to stir it up here. Plus we've had a lot of rain, and no matter what I do, that rain washes kind of down this way, even though I cover the pile. So it's been staying pretty moist. And hopefully this will help a little with some sun. We'll see how it goes. Cleanup's important. After all this, the time to clean up is right after. This is that bleach water mix. This is just an old bucket. Old dirty bucket. I'm going to let this run in there. And I'm going to get a scrub brush and kind of clean it all out and then rinse it out real well. Let it dry in the sun. Make sure the tubes are nice and clean, and we'll be ready to go for the next time.